Too long. And if you really wanted to play, he'd hit me up and be like, "Hey man, are you ready now?" Like, no. Put that back. Alright, so I'm gonna go warm up my dinner. I'll be back.
series is easily one of Nintendo's most popular franchises. Games like Mario Kart DS, Mario Kart Wii, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe have sold tens of millions of copies and were a huge part of so many people's childhoods. But there's one Mario Kart game that, despite not selling nearly as well as most other entries in the series, is easily the most creative, fun, and distinct Mario Kart game out there. One Mario Kart game that's so different from all the others that its main mechanic has never been brought back in any future entries. That Mario Kart game is none other than Mario Kart Double Dash. This game is incredible, and for my fourth video in my series covering all the Mario Kart games, I want to take a deep dive into one of, if not my favorite entry in the Mario Kart series, and truly see what makes it such an underrated Mario Kart game. My name is Mario Mikester, and welcome to a Mario Kart Double Dash retrospective. Released on November 17th, 2003 here in North America, Mario Kart Double Dash is the fourth entry in the Mario Kart series, and the first entirely 3D Mario Kart game, as all the other entries up to this point were either 2D games that simulated a 3D environment, or in Mario Kart 64's case, had a 3D environment but featured 2D character and item sprites. During development, the team really struggled with making the game feel like a proper follow-up to Mario Kart 64. As, at the time, Mario Kart 64 was not only highly regarded as the best Mario Kart game ever made, but one of the best racing games ever made. And in order to truly make this game a distinct follow-up, they started brainstorming ideas on new mechanics, items, and characters they could introduce that would appeal to both fans and newcomers to the series. Among the many new things that the team introduced during development though, there was one new mechanic that really stood out to everyone working on the game and would eventually become its main selling point: the Double Dash mechanic. The Double Dash mechanic would allow players to choose two characters to play as instead of one, with different combinations providing different stats. This mechanic was the perfect way to make Double Dash stand out from its predecessors and feel like a true next step for the Mario Kart series. And at E3 2003, the world would finally get a good look at the game, as its initial announcement teaser in 2001 literally just had Super Smash Bros. Melee models and go-karts. Getting into the actual game itself, you have this pretty standard Mario Kart title screen showcasing a bunch of the characters racing. One thing I've always found funny about this title screen though, is the inclusion of two trademarks on the logo. I guess they were really just leaning into the whole double thing with this game. Heading into the single player mode, you obviously have your typical Grand Prix and time trial modes we've seen in every other Mario Kart game up until this point. Where things get a bit more interesting here though, is in the character selection. Right from the very start, Double Dash features a whopping 16 playable characters to select from, double the amount of playable characters in every other Mario Kart game at the time, with 4 more characters you can unlock later. This sudden increase in characters was obviously due to the double mechanic, as they wanted to give
Oh yeah,
players a diverse selection to
makes
choose
sense.
from, but it was just so cool to see so many new characters make their Mario Kart debut. You had new characters like Daisy, Birdo, Diddy Kong, Bowser Jr., Wario, and of course the man himself, Waluigi. And I mean, along with bringing a bunch of
Daisy
new
mentioned.
existing characters into Mario Kart, Double Dash also introduced an entirely new character to the Mario series with this game: Toadette. Toadette was obviously created to be Toad's primary racing partner, but I absolutely love how she became a mainstay of the Mario franchise after this game, appearing in tons of spin-offs and even the opening sequence of Super Mario Galaxy. One really cool element of the character selection in this game is the ability to choose what kart you'll use. Up until Double Dash, every Mario Kart game had all the characters race in the same basic go-kart. But with this game, not only did every single character have their own unique kart, you also got to specifically choose which kart you wanted to use, with different karts offering different stats. For example, if you were racing as Mario and Yoshi, you weren't just limited to using Mario's signature kart or Yoshi's signature kart. Rather, you got to choose any character's signature kart to race in, as long as they were in the same weight class as the character combo you had. Having this level of customization in a Mario Kart game was such a nice upgrade from what we had in previous Mario Karts. The sheer amount of character pair and kart combinations you could do here added so much strategy to the game, and really encourages players to experiment and see what works for them. But the strategy of choosing what characters to pair together doesn't just determine what stats you'll have, it also determines what special items you'll get. You see, each primary character pair in the game has their own signature special item. Mario and Luigi have the Fireball, Yoshi and Birdo have the Yoshi Egg, Toad and Toadette have the Golden Mushroom, etc. But what makes the special items even cooler is that if you combine certain characters together, you'll get both of their special items. For example, if you pair Donkey Kong and Yoshi together, you'll have the chance of getting Donkey Kong's special item, the Giant Banana, as well as Yoshi's special item, the Yoshi Egg. I absolutely love this. Not only does it encourage players to pair together characters they would have never thought of, it also adds even more strategy to the game. Double Dash's special items are an incredibly cool new addition, and while it's not very surprising the whole two drivers gimmick never returned, I still cannot believe they never brought this mechanic back. It is so fun to shoot these colorful fireballs as Mario or Luigi, litter the track with giant bananas as Donkey or Diddy Kong, and just zoom across the track with a chain chomp as Baby Mario or Luigi. The special items just make races so much more chaotic and eventful. With all this mention of strategy and the sheer amount of customization potential you have in this game, it may sound like Double Dash is an extremely daunting game to pick up at first, especially if you're a more casual player. But actually, it's not at all. Personally speaking, Double Dash was the first Mario Kart I ever played. And although I didn't own it myself, so I didn't extensively get to experience it, I remember absolutely loving it. At the time, I didn't see the character and card combinations as a way of optimizing my stats and guaranteeing I had the best item combination or most optimal weight class. Rather, I saw it as a way to make my two favorite Mario characters team up and race in a cool looking kart. Double Dash does a great job at hiding all the little details away and doesn't bombard you with stats when you're choosing your characters or kart. It understands that Mario Kart is widely loved as a casual experience, and those who do enjoy playing Mario Kart a little more strategically or competitively are likely Mario Kart veterans who already know how to figure all that stuff out by reading the manual. Really, the only aspect of Double Dash that I wouldn't say is entirely casual friendly at first is the controls. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Double Dash's controls, but that's after playing this game for hours and really understanding them. Getting used to them when you first start playing is actually a little difficult, especially if you're playing as a heavyweight character. One
Ooh,
aspect of Double
excuse me.
Dash's controls that I think remedies this initial issue though is the
Oh, I just
drifting.
realized you can't hear
I
shit. Oh
firmly
shit.
believe that this is the first Mario Kart game in the series to fully nail drifting. Super Mario Kart's drifting just served as a means of turning sharper. Mario Kart 64 has introduced the idea of getting a boost from doing it, but didn't have any sort of visual indicator to show the player's increase in speed. And Super Circuit, while adding the visual indicator 64's was missing, just doesn't feel as good. Double Dash's drifting, on the other hand, both looks and feels incredible. It's got a ton of visual flair with the orange and blue sparks, and quickly flicking the control stick left and right to build up a mini turbo feels great, and is so much more engaging and involved than just holding a turn like you do in most other Mario Karts. And this much more engaging and involved feeling isn't just limited to the drifting. I'd honestly argue that even though they are hard to adjust to at first, Double Dash without a doubt has the most engaging controls in the entire series. In modern Mario Karts, especially Mario Kart 8, a lot of the time I feel like I go into an autopilot mode and don't really have to focus to win, with 200cc being the only way to really make the game feel engaging. With Double Dash though, the engaging controls and sheer chaos that the items cause always have me fully focused into the race, especially on tracks with sharp turns. Speaking of the tracks though, I wouldn't at all be doing Double Dash justice if I didn't talk about its stellar track selection. While it may have one of the lowest track counts of any Mario Kart game, most of the tracks featured here are easily some of the best in the series. Heavy emphasis on most. You have your circuit courses, Luigi, Mario, and Yoshi circuit, and while circuit courses in Mario Kart games are usually incredibly basic, Double Dashes surprisingly aren't. Luigi Circuit has this cool gimmick where its main stretch of track serves as a two-way road, where you can actually pass racers going the opposite direction of you. And there's this really awesome Luigi's Mansion reference with Luigi's A-Rank mansion from that game appearing in the background. Mario Circuit is full of twists and turns and makes it so fun to drift on. And Yoshi Circuit, while featuring a ton of cool set pieces that bring the track to life, is most memorable because it's literally shaped like a Yoshi. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that. Hey, did you also know that Super Mario Bros. 2 is actually Doki Doki? Outside of the circuit tracks, you also have these incredibly cool unique tracks like Daisy Cruiser, which literally takes place on a cruise ship, Mushroom City, which sees you racing around a huge city at night with alternate paths you can take, and Wario Coliseum, a track so long it only has 2 laps. Double Dash's tracks are incredible. They're so colorful, lively, creative, and just full of the charm that a lot of Nintendo games had back in the GameCube era. Obviously not every track here is a hitter, and I'd be lying if I said this game had the best track selection of a Mario Kart game, but I really like how original most of them are. And I mean, I can't talk about Double Dash's track selection without mentioning Rainbow Road. Double Dash's Rainbow Road may honestly be my favorite in the series. That or Mario Kart 7's. Its sharp turns, and especially the spiral filled with dash panels, make this track so easy to fall off of if you're not paying attention. I can definitely see why some of the difficult turns may make this some people's least favorite Rainbow Road, but to me, that's what Rainbow Roads are all about. The setting of this track is also really cool. It takes place at night and seems to take place over Mushroom City, which is a really cool detail. While you're racing on the track though, you might notice stars that fall from the sky onto the road. What's cool about these stars is that you can actually pick up and use them, which is something I've always loved about this track, even if it is a little unfair for someone in first place to get. Overall, Double Dash's Rainbow Road serves as a great end to the track list in this game, and is a blast to race on. And I mean, that's just the single player mode. The multiplayer is where Double Dash, and let's be honest, pretty much every Mario Kart game shine the brightest. Being able to race with your friends in these games will never not be fun. And out of every Mario Kart, Double Dash easily has the most unique multiplayer mode. For starters, you have the option between racing against your friends or with your friends due to the Double Dash mechanic allowing 2 characters in one kart. Outside of that, you have your basic multiplayer modes you come to expect from Mario Kart games. Grand Prix, Versus, and Battle Mode. The mode I chose to start off with was Grand Prix mode. And, I mean, it was fun. This and the Versus mode aren't really too special. Don't get me wrong, I am so glad they are here, and I really enjoyed my time with them. But these don't really differ all that much from the Grand Prix and Versus multiplayer modes before it. And I mean, they don't have to either. They're here and they're good. That's all I can really say about them without repeating what I said about the other games. Where this multiplayer mode actually starts to get interesting though, is in the battle mode. Up until Double Dash, Mario Kart battle modes were solely balloon battles, where you just collected item boxes and try to catch your opponents off guard and hit them with an item to make them lose one of their 3 balloons. Here, the balloon battle mode returns, but new to the Mario Kart series are 2 brand new modes, Shine Thief and Bob-omb Blast. Shine Thief involves collecting a shine on the map and trying to hold onto it until the timer runs out, with players not holding the shine trying to steal it from the person holding it by hitting them with items. Bob-omb Blast is all about collecting as many Bob-ombs as you can, with them being the only item you can get, and throwing them at your opponents to blow them up. The first person to 3 stars here wins the game. These 2 modes are alright. Shine Thief can be pretty boring with only 2 people, as a lot of the time you're just circling each other, but with 3 or 4 people, it's a pretty good time. Regardless though, it's great to have at least some diversity in the battle mode. And I mean, along with these 2 new modes, you also have some brand new tracks to battle on, like this one based off the mansion from Luigi's Mansion, one that takes place on a giant GameCube, and my personal favorite, Pipe Plaza, where you can shoot through different pipes. Overall, while the battle mode here is great, it's definitely not what I enjoyed most about the multiplayer in this game. The multiplayer mode I actually enjoyed the most here was very surprisingly the co-op mode. In this mode, you and a friend get to team up and share the same kart, with one person driving while the other handles the items. I absolutely love this mode. It's all about working together with your partner and trying to coordinate through the chaotic beauty that is Double Dash. I love how if you want to switch who's driving, you both have to verbally agree to and press the Z button at the exact same time. And if you also want to correctly drift, you both have to waggle the control stick left and right at the same time as well. There is so much cooperation present here, and it could lead to either some of the funniest moments ever, or some of the coolest if you can work together really well. One of the most hilarious things you can do in this co-op mode if you're in the back seat is punch other racers. Performing this punch though causes the kart to shift in the direction you're attacking, and can seriously send the driver off course. But I mean, that just makes it more fun. This co-op mode perfectly takes advantage of the Double Dash mechanic. I've heard people say they find this mode boring, but it's easily some of the most fun I've had with this game, and without a doubt, my favorite multiplayer mode available here. I'd love to see it return in the future. Mario Kart Double Dash is one of the best GameCube games, and honestly a true contender for best Mario Kart game. It is such a creative and chaotic mess, and I mean that in the best way possible. You have so much freedom here in regards to what character pair to pick, what kart to pick, and what special items you want. The Double Dash mechanic is still one of the coolest one-off gimmicks in any Nintendo game. The track selection here is so diverse and original, with only 2 of the 16 tracks being lame. The controls, while hard to adjust to at first, are incredibly engaging and will always have your full attention. The multiplayer has so much to offer. You have classic Grand Prix and Versus modes, 3 battle modes, and a co-op experience no Mario Kart has ever been able to top. It's so unfortunate that this game was released on one of Nintendo's worst performing systems sales-wise. This is a game any Mario Kart fan needs to play at least once. It's just so unique and underrated. Later entries in the series like Mario Kart DS and Mario Kart Wii do introduce a lot more to the franchise, but due to just how different this game is from all the others, it will never become obsolete. Overall, Mario Kart Double Dash may not be a perfect game, but it's damn near close to it. And in my eyes, is an absolute masterpiece. The year is 2001, and Nintendo is about to launch their brand new console, the GameCube. Excitement was high for the release of this system. I mean, just the graphical upgrade alone from the N64 to GameCube was enough to generate hype. But with the launch of a new Nintendo console also meant the launch of a new mainline Mario game to show off what the system could do, right? It was practically tradition at this point. The NES launched with Super Mario Bros., the SNES launched with Super Mario World, and the N64 launched with Super Mario 64. Well, to the surprise of just about everybody, instead of launching with a brand new Mario game, the GameCube would instead launch with a Luigi game. The very appropriately titled Luigi's Mansion. This game has always fascinated me. Its eerie tone and unsettling atmosphere is just so different from what we're used to in the Mario franchise. And today I want to take a deep dive into it and see if it really lives up to all the hype. My name is Mario Meister, and welcome to a Luigi's Mansion retrospective. In this video, I'm going to try and answer one simple question. Is Luigi's Mansion actually good? Released on November 18th, 2001 here in North America, Luigi's Mansion was Nintendo's big launch title for the GameCube, and also was Luigi's first time taking center stage as the protagonist of a game, as up until Luigi's Mansion, he lived almost entirely in his brother's shadow as a simple player too. But funnily enough, Luigi's Mansion initially wasn't even meant to feature Luigi at all. You see, sometime in the late 90s, Nintendo wanted to make a game that entirely revolved around the player exploring the many rooms of a giant dollhouse. At first, Mario was cast as the protagonist, as they knew the game would sell well if Mario was on the cover. But as ideas changed, and the setting of the game changed from exploring a giant dollhouse to exploring a giant haunted mansion filled with ghosts, the team became very wary about having the brave and fearless Mario as the lead because they wanted a more cowardly character that would be easily frightened by the ghosts. And so after some debate, the team eventually settled on Luigi as the protagonist of the game, as even as far back as an old 1983 commercial for Mario Bros. On the Atari, Luigi had always been portrayed to have a more cowardly personality, making him the perfect fit for this game, and also giving Nintendo a perfect excuse to expand upon his character. Luigi's Mansion didn't only influence a lot of Luigi's character though, it also heavily influenced many aspects of the GameCube itself. Since Luigi's Mansion was developed alongside the GameCube, The team working on the game was able to make requests to Nintendo that would make developing the game a lot easier. For example, Luigi's Mansion relies heavily on lighting. The sudden illumination of a room due to a lightning strike, the subtle light a ghost emits, and even the beam of light from Luigi's flashlight play a huge part in immersing the player
Corey,
in the
what are you
story.
talking about?
And because of this, the team requested that the GameCube have a more
He's
advanced
still
lighting
pussy?
engine that would make implementing
Bro, he literally
effects
fought a
much
freaking
easier.
Ghost King.
This, along with many other
What the
requests
hell are
from
you
the
talking
team,
about, you silly
actually
pussy?
added to the GameCube. It's honestly very unlikely that Luigi's Mansion would look as good as it does if
I
not for
don't
the
know how
visual
much lore
performance
they
of the
gave him.
GameCube.
What do you mean how much lore they gave him?
The game opens up with a cutscene of Luigi slowly approaching this rundown mansion.
Like, bro, literally, like I could say the same. I could say Mario solos. Clearly, no, he doesn't, because I'm pretty sure Mario got captured and Luigi had to save him. So actually, no, he doesn't solo. Because last time I checked, Luigi did get trapped in a painting. Mario did. So actually, Luigi solos. What are you talking about? I don't know. I don't care. You don't. You see? I don't know. It seems like you care. Let's be real here. But what do you mean? Let's be real here. What the fuck are you talking about? Peach solos? Peach wasn't here. And so you really saying Peach solos, even though she gets stolen by a freaking big ass mutant turtle dragon? Are you saying she solo? She can't even escape from him. Literally to this day, she has two video games in her name. Two video games. And you saying, and that's who you want to say solos? Peach has two video games in her name where she's a protagonist. Like, please. Now we know why she getting captured. Yeah, because Bowser loves her, obviously. 'Cause Bowser wants a wife, and literally every single fucking game is Bowser trying to fucking kidnap her and shit. What the hell? Oh my god. Like crumbs and shit. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. What dragon dick must go hard? They ain't fucking. What the hell are you talking about? Bowser doesn't want to fuck her. He just wants to marry her. Like, what are you talking about? Because Peach ain't pregnant, so clearly, whatever the fuck he's doing, it ain't fucking. He just wants a wife. He doesn't want, you know, baby. To be honest, to be honest, he's probably cause at least when I think of Bowser, Bowser is more like dragon condoms. Nigga, Bowser is stupid as fuck. He probably doesn't even know what a fucking condom is. Like Bowser is actually a dumbass. He doesn't know what fucking condoms are. He is not smart enough to actually know what a fucking condom is. He probably think it's a fuck. He'd be like, "What the fuck are you giving me? What the fuck is that?" He probably think you're giving him a balloon. He'd be like, "Why are you giving me balloons for?" Like, Bowser's not that smart. Fucking dumbass. To be honest, he's probably too stupid to know he could actually fuck Peach. He probably just wants to be around her. Lol. Yeah, lol. Lol indeed.
Being guided by this map that reads Your Mansion. And although it's not mentioned in the game right away, The manual reveals that Luigi won this mansion in a contest he didn't even enter, and that Mario is supposed to be there waiting for him. As Luigi gets closer and closer to the
Anyway,
mansion,
Peach
tensions
Cake,
rise as the
especially in
music
Mario
gets more
movie.
and more sinister, before
Peach
Luigi
Cake?
finally makes
What the
his
fuck
way
are you talking
inside
about?
to find the place completely empty.
What in the
This
actual
opening
fuck are you talking
cutscene
about?
perfectly sets the tone for the game, establishing its incredibly eerie and unsettling atmosphere. I absolutely love how it doesn't rely on jump scares or loud noises to make the player feel uneasy. Instead, it relies on this desolate and empty feeling. The only other entities present in this cutscene here, other than Luigi, are these two crows. I mean, going into this game, the player might expect some ghost to jump out at Luigi or Mario to be waiting for him at the front entrance. But this lack of just anything does an amazing job at building tension and easing the player into this creepy atmosphere. As you actually start to explore this seemingly empty mansion, you eventually meet this strange old man in a white coat who saves Luigi from being attacked by a ghost. After escaping the mansion, the man identifies himself as Professor Egad, a well-renowned ghost hunter and scholar, and
Professor
informs
Edgar.
Luigi that he
Edgar
saw
Gadd.
someone wearing a red hat similar to Luigi's enter the mansion earlier and never return. With this newfound knowledge of his brother possibly being trapped inside the mansion, Luigi and Egad team up, with Egad providing Luigi with his ghost catching device, the Poltergust 3000, and teaching him the basics of how to use it to catch ghosts. This tutorial is great, as it does a really good job at teaching the player how to use the Poltergust 3000 in an area where there isn't much pressure, allowing them to experiment with the controls a bit and understand how it all works. Moving away from the tutorial though and back into the mansion itself, I absolutely love this place. The atmosphere here is just perfect. Nintendo did such a good job at making this seem like an actually lived in place, which is a stark contrast to their last attempt at something like this with Peach's Castle. Almost every room here feels like it serves a purpose and would actually be a room you would find in a giant mansion, which only adds to the immersion of the game. The ghosts themselves actually contribute a lot to this lived in aspect as well. I mean, of course, the regular and average ghosts you find just roaming the halls or floating around in some of the rooms don't contribute much, but the more humanoid ghosts you encounter, like this fatherly ghost Neville you find in the study reading a book, this dancing couple you find dancing in the ballroom, and this buff ghost you find working out in the rec room, do an amazing job at making the mansion feel like a lively place, while still keeping that creepy tone as they are obviously ghosts. One of the things Luigi's Mansion excels the most at, though, in terms of its immersion and atmosphere, is its music. As you explore the many rooms and halls of this place, that iconic Luigi's Mansion theme plays, and does an amazing job at capturing the feeling of exploring a haunted mansion. But one thing you might not notice is that this music is actually adaptive, meaning that it changes depending on the current circumstances. For example, when you're roaming a dark hall, you have that classic theme everyone knows and loves with Luigi humming along to it.
Mm.
But when you're in a room that you've completed and the lights are on, the theme will change to a more calm, whistling rendition of that theme. And when you're outside the mansion, it changes to a harp rendition of the theme.
Lol. What are you saying lol for? What are you laughing at? So funny.
This is such an amazing use of the game's main theme, and it's a great way to convey the tone of wherever you are in the mansion. But the adaptiveness of this game's music doesn't just stop there. The music that plays when you're roaming one of the mansion's many dark halls is actually dependent on Luigi's current health. While you're at or around full HP, Luigi's humming and the orchestral track accompanying him sound normal. But after Luigi's lost some health, the track slows down a bit, with Luigi occasionally missing some notes and his voice cracking frequently. And when you're on the brink of death, the track slows down a lot more, with Luigi consistently missing notes and his voice constantly cracking and shivering, almost as if he's about to pass out. This is an absolutely genius way to convey Luigi's fear. When he's at full health, he's humming to try and keep himself sane. He's completely alone in here, apart from the ghosts, obviously, and he's
No,
trying to
that's actually
distract
good. That's actually
himself,
kind of
thinking
creepy.
about what could be lurking around. As his health goes down, though, he's starting to lose that sanity. His fear is getting the best of him, and it's much harder for him to stay calm and collected, hence the voice cracks. Overall, the audio design of Luigi's Mansion is
No,
easily
that's
some of
actually
the
mad
best
smart.
in any Nintendo game. The adaptiveness of
It
the
feel it
music,
is
the
crazy.
subtle sound
Yeah,
effects, and the
it
outstanding
shows. It
voice
basically
work
shows him
Bowser
getting more and more
delivers as
scared,
Luigi here
depending on
is
his
something
depending
I
on
will
itself.
always love about this game. Speaking of Luigi himself, though, I absolutely love how expressive and observant he is in this game. I mean, of course, you have the iconic screaming pose he does when he gets scared by a ghost, but you also have things like the little dance he does when he beats a boss or gets a key. Lifelike animations like this make Luigi feel more human and make him someone the player can relate to. And while something like this may not seem that charming now, you have to remember that animations like this simply weren't possible for Nintendo before the GameCube. So it was really cool to see just how much more lively Nintendo characters could be now with the GameCube's upgraded graphical capabilities. In terms of his observance, though, I absolutely love the commentary Luigi has on certain objects when you scan them with the Game Boy Horror. His little comments on the paintings and various antiques spread around the mansion were an absolutely unnecessary addition, but is something that just fleshes out Luigi's character a bit more and gives you some insight on his thoughts. And I mean, speaking of insight on Luigi's thoughts, you can't forget the button that is almost entirely dedicated to just calling out Mario's name. Mario! Moving on to easily the most important
Mario,
aspect of any video game, we have the
Mario.
gameplay itself. The gameplay of Luigi's Mansion centers around exploring the many rooms of the mansion, solving puzzles, and catching ghosts while you try to track down the evil King Boo who's captured Mario in a painting. Now, Luigi's Mansion features two main types of ghosts. You got your regular run-of-the-mill ghosts who are relatively easy to defeat and mostly just slow Luigi down, and then you got the portrait ghosts. The portrait ghosts are ghosts who EGAD had once captured and displayed on portraits, but due to the emergence of King Boo, all these portrait ghosts were freed from their painting prisons and now inhabit the many rooms of the mansion. These portrait ghosts are much more difficult to capture than regular ghosts, and some of them even have full-on boss fights associated with them that the player must tackle in order to defeat them. These boss fights, and just catching ghosts in general, are a lot of fun due to how good the controls are in this game. There definitely are times where the controls do feel a bit finicky, but overall I didn't really have any major issue with them.
The boss ghosts
But
are pretty
catching
cool.
ghosts and solving puzzles isn't the only thing you do in Luigi's Mansion. While you're exploring the place, you'll often come across coins, bills, gold bars, pearls, and sometimes even diamonds. Collecting these valuables isn't at all required to beat the game, but is something that just brings the whole experience together. You see, when this game came out, it was heavily praised for its atmosphere, sound design, and just overall aesthetic. However, one thing a lot of people criticized the game for was its length. Luigi's Mansion is an incredibly short experience,
Yeah,
clocking in
true. The
around
game
5
is
to
kind of
6
short.
hours overall. But one thing many critics didn't understand about the game was that its short runtime was actually intended. I mean, Luigi's Mansion on its own is no doubt a pretty fun time, but it's its replayability that makes the experience feel a lot more complete. You see, after you beat the game, all the treasure you collected overall is tallied up and you're given a final gold count. This final gold count determines what rank you'll get and determines how nice your custom mansion will be. This rank you get at the end is very arcadish. The game actively encourages you to go back and replay it if you get a bad score, as not only do you get a sad little jingle signifying you could do much better, your save file also just simply gets deleted after you beat the game. The highest rank you can achieve here is an A rank, and achieving this rank is not easy. On your first playthrough of the game, even if you think you're collecting pretty much all the gold you can, you'll most likely end up with an E or F rank due to how well hidden a lot of the gold is. The mansion has tons of secret rooms, secret objectives, and even some secret portrait ghosts that contribute a lot to your overall gold count. And if replaying the game for a higher score doesn't appeal to you, Luigi's Mansion also has a Hidden Mansion mode you unlock after beating the game for the first time. This Hidden Mansion mode differs a lot in new editions based on what version of the game you're playing. The Japanese and North American releases of the game just make the ghosts deal more damage but have the poltergust suck them up faster, while the European and Australian releases of the game completely mirror the entire mansion, make the bosses more difficult, offer less ways to gain health, the list goes on. This Hidden Mansion mode is incredibly cool. It practically remixes the entire game. It sucks that this version of the mode was only exclusive to Europe and Australia, though. The amount of changes here is amazing. Moving away from the gameplay of Luigi's Mansion, though, this game has fostered tons of dark theories and creepypastas surrounding it, due to not only the generally creepy nature of the game, but also certain elements about it that players have found interesting. The two things that influence these theories and stories the most is the beta game over screen and the lighting glitch that occurs in the telephone room. The beta game over screen, funnily enough, was never actually confirmed to be the beta game over screen. You see, Luigi's Mansion was first revealed to the public as a tech demo for the GameCube at Space World 2000. This tech demo showcased various footage of what would go on in the mansion, and ended on the shot of Luigi looking incredibly depressed to try and drum up hype for the game. Regardless of if this ever was actually a planned game over screen or not, it's still incredibly creepy. The infamous telephone room lighting glitch is a glitch that occurs when Luigi is standing in a specific spot in the telephone room. While standing in this spot when there's a lightning strike outside, Luigi's shadow will look as if he's suspended from the ceiling. This is an incredibly unsettling lighting glitch that many people around the time of this game's release actually thought was intended. I think it's so cool that people have taken it upon themselves to theorize and write stories surrounding these two creepy elements, because it just keeps talk surrounding the game alive and has made it everlasting in a sense. Dark theories aside, though, the last major thing I want to talk about here is the final boss fight. After exploring just about every room of the mansion, defeating every boss, and capturing 40 of the 50 boosts scattered around the place, you'll be able to make your way into the secret altar room. Inside
Your
this
altar
room
room.
lies Mario trapped in a painting, and the main antagonist of the game, King Boo. Upon noticing Luigi has entered the room, King Boo will suck him into a Bowser painting and transport him into the final boss area. This boss fight takes place in what seems to be the roof of the mansion, and as you face off against
Yeah,
King
that
Boo
fight
in
is
a giant Bowser
kind of
suit.
crazy.
I honestly don't really like this final fight. For
What?
starters, I think it's honestly really lame that you're just essentially fighting Bowser here, with King Boo only coming out so you can drain his health. Bowser is supposed to be Mario's arch nemesis, and throughout the entire game they're setting up King Boo to be Luigi's arch nemesis.
True.
So I feel like it would have been way cooler if you just fought King Boo himself, rather than King Boo in a
I
Bowser
agree.
suit.
That's true.
In terms of the actual
Don't you
fight
fight in
itself,
Dark Moon?
the idea is fine.
Forgot.
You're supposed to avoid Bowser's attacks and shoot these explosive spike balls at him to cause the Bowser suit's head to come off and King Boo to come flying out of it. But in execution, this fight has a lot of issues. With the biggest being that actually hitting Bowser with the spike balls is stupidly difficult. You can only hit him in the head, and half the time I thought I had hit him, the ball would either pass right through him or just disappear. After some time, you do get used to the fight's jankiness,
Hmm.
but that doesn't relieve it of its issues. Regardless of this fight's problems, though, after knocking the Bowser suit's head off enough times, you're finally able to defeat King Boo and save Mario, bringing a bittersweet end to the game.
Mamma mia. Oh, oh,
Luigi's Mansion is a weird game. I mean, at the time it came out, it was like nothing we'd ever seen from the Mario franchise before. It was a game
Mm-mm.
solely focused around Luigi, and instead of trying to save Peach, you were trying to save Mario. But looking back at this game today, there's still a lot to love about it. Its atmosphere is masterfully done. Everything from the clever lighting, the adaptive music, and even the ghosts themselves do an amazing job at immersing the player in this game's world. The countless amount of
Mm.
secrets and collectibles hidden around the mansion and the various ranks you get make this game one you can play over and over again. And the short
Sure,
runtime
it has a
only
lot of
adds to this,
replayability.
making it something you can get through in only an afternoon or two. The theories and stories surrounding this game have kept talk alive surrounding it, and have made things like the beta Luigi screen and the telephone room lighting glitch infamous among Nintendo fans. The only real issue with this game is its final boss fight. There are a few things that they should have done differently, but this one small issue doesn't completely invalidate all of the amazing things this game does. At the end of the day, Luigi's Mansion is an almost infinitely replayable experience that only gets better with every new playthrough. So, to finally answer the question posed at the very beginning of this video, is Luigi's Mansion actually good? No. Luigi's Mansion is more than good. It's amazing!
A good ending. God damn, I'm tired of shit. Damn, it's only 10:40. Hmm. The funny thing is, I know as soon as if I say I'm gonna go to sleep, I'm get I'm immediately gonna not be able to go to sleep. That's not. Let me see. Watching it. Mario 64. This one. This one's the newer one, right? Bro.
Annual revisits to some of my favorite games are comforting for me. When it feels like summer, I'll play
Alright, go back. The Mario Galaxy.
In 2007, the world saw the launch of one of the greatest video games of all time, Super Mario. Mario Galaxy. Not only was this game incredibly well designed and fun, it was easily one of the most immersive
Damn, why is it lagging? Why is it lagging like that? Here's Mario Sunshine. Clearly acting up.
When a new 3D Mario game releases, it's always a big deal. These titles are often highly regarded as some of the best video games ever made. Super Mario 64 is praised for practically inventing the 3D platformer genre. Galaxy is loved for its spectacular music and equally incredible atmosphere and gameplay. 3D World is loved for its creativity, and Odyssey is loved for its almost perfect controls and open-ended level design. But there's one 3D Mario game that, despite being praised and loved just as much as the others by a lot of
The hell?
critics,
I thought that was a pop up. I'm not sure what the hell is your pop on?
is a bit of a controversial topic among Mario fans. That game is none other than the one and only Super Mario Sunshine. This game has always stood out to me, and today I want to take a deep dive into it and explore the many aspects of it. My name is Mario Mikester, and welcome to a Super Mario Sunshine retrospective. In this video, I want to finally try and answer the question that has plagued my and so many others' minds for so long. Is Super Mario Sunshine bad?
Kinda. Kinda. Not totally bad. It's kinda bad.
Released on August 26, 2002 here in North America, Super Mario Sunshine is the second entry in the
This shit is so laggy, bro. What the fuck is it so laggy for? Like, what's causing it to freaking lag?
in North America. Super Mario Sunshine is the second entry in the 3D Mario series, but initially was not supposed to be. You see, after the immense success of Super Mario 64 and the
Alright, we're gonna have to
N64
deal with the street
being the
quality.
best-selling game on the
God
system,
damn,
many
nah, actually, no, that's too bad. Like, what the fuck? I can't even read that. Can't read what that says. The hell? Yeah, that's a little bit better. Not perfect, it's a little bit better.
margin, a sequel to the game was a no-brainer to Nintendo. At first, series director Shigeru Miyamoto planned to have the game developed for the 64 DD. an add-on for the N64 that connected to the bottom of the system and allowed the console to read floppy disks that could hold significantly more storage on them than N64 cartridges could. But due to the failure and subsequent discontinuation of the add-on, development for the game was put on hold. And for the next few years, Miyamoto would continue to reassure fans that a sequel to Super Mario 64 was coming, just not on the N64. But as time went on and the launch of their upcoming console, the GameCube, drew closer, Nintendo became more and more doubtful of Miyamoto's Super Mario 64 sequel. So in a last-ditch effort to have a 3D Mario game released in the next few years, in late 2000, Nintendo very hastily began development on what would eventually, over an incredibly short development period of around 18 months,
Mm-mm.
becomes Super Mario Sunshine.
Super Mario Sunshine! Woohoo!
Before I talk about the game itself, I think it's pretty important to cover the opening plot of the game, as Sunshine is the very first 3D Mario game to attempt to have a fully fleshed out narrative. The game introduces its plots throughout its various opening cutscenes. The first cutscene showcases Mario, Peach, and a brand new character Toadsworth traveling through the air in a plane. Aboard this plane, the three watch a video that shows off the tropical island they're traveling to, Isle Delfino. While watching this video, Peach seems to notice an odd shadowy figure in the background of one of the shots. Peach tries to point this out to Mario and Toadsworth, but they are gone. After a rough landing, the player gets to take control of Mario and get a feel for how he moves around and controls in the game. During this brief period of being able to move around with Mario, you also get a bit of time to get acquainted with his new companion Flood, which you have to use in order to defeat this piranha made out of what Toad can only describe as
Tastes like goop!
After the piranha's defeat,
Goop.
Mario is arrested and put on trial for defacing and polluting Isle Delfino with the previously mentioned icky paint-like goop. Mario's unable to defend himself in court due to whatever kind of legal system they got going on in Isle Delfino, and is tasked with cleaning up the entire island before he can leave. Almost immediately after beginning his cleanup, Mario comes face to face with the shadowy figure that Peach saw in the video. This shadowy figure, very appropriately named Shadow Mario, jumps down and grabs Peach. This prompts Mario to chase after him, spraying him with water to try and defeat him. And after being bested by Mario and his new friend Flood, Shadow Mario drops Peach and retreats by making a portal on this giant Pianta statue. Heading into this portal leads to the very first level of the game, Bianco Hills. I absolutely love this opening for so many different reasons. I mean, first off, the whole plot revolving around Mario going to a tropical island and getting framed for crimes he obviously didn't commit, and his goal being to clear his name, is such a breath of fresh air from the usual, Oh, Peach is kidnapped and you gotta save her trope we're so used to. And yeah, I know she does get kidnapped later, but at least there's a build up to it. The full voice acting present in the cutscenes here are hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know what's causing it to lag.
I don't know if it was intentional to have the voice acting be this funny,
Behold this sketch of the perpetrator based on eyewitness descriptions. The truth is obvious. The guilty party sits among us.
but it absolutely lends to the
Among
more
Us?
silly and laid back tone Sunshine has. Finally, the way the game introduces the controls to the player is absolutely genius. From the very moment you start controlling Mario on the airstrip, there's a threat present. That being the goop. This immediately has the player engaged and gets them right into the action. The next time you gain control of Mario is during your chase with Shadow Mario. During this
Okay, let me change the Wi-Fi because this shit is lagging way too much.
chase, the player has only the basic knowledge of Mario's controls, but through being forced to chase Shadow Mario, they will most likely be able to grasp the controls even quicker. And it's not like this chase is unfair or anything. If you don't move quick enough, Shadow Mario does stop and wait for you. But it's the illusion of this chase being more than what it is that will help players. The whole opening sequence is an amazing way to engage players at the start without being too overwhelming. Moving on from the opening, we have the incredible hub world that is Delfino Plaza. I have, and I am not even joking when I say this, spent hours just running around this place over the years. There's just so much to do here. I mean, you got the
I am literally trying to glitch my damn Wi-Fi. Pause. Hey, what the hell's going on? Like, I'm still trying, it's not working. Maybe if I close it and open it back up. It still won't let me. Very interesting. Like wow, it really still isn't working. Nothing is working. I'm trying to close the OBS, won't work. And now it works. Jeez Louise. Fuck. Hey, oh, let me close it out. It still won't let me. Hmm. Like, what the hell? Laptop is bugging out. I'm pressing this won't work. It's on the browser, it won't open. Okay, now my browser's opening. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Okay, my settings finally opened. Holy shit. That makes me think it's probably something to do with my laptop. Like literally, it took so long to just open up my damn Wi-Fi setting. Alright, I don't know what the hell just happened to OBS. What the hell? Yeah. I don't know what the hell just happened to OBS, but alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened to OBS. Like, what the fuck just happened? OBS just straight up died. Oh, I don't know what the fuck happened to my OBS. My OBS just straight up just fucking started dying. I don't know, bro. I honestly don't know. I don't know if it was my Wi-Fi or OBS. I don't know what the fuck just happened. Everything just went to shit. Because first everything was laggy, then OBS just straight up just fucking choked and died. I don't fucking know. My OBS just got absolutely cooked. Like, holy shit. Like, literally, I'm trying to click on shit, it ain't working. OBS all here lagging. The freaking browser's lagging. Probably my laptop. I don't know. Cause I don't even have that many. I don't have that many things open. So I don't fucking know. So I was like, let me, cause I literally just I basically end the stream. I exited out of OBS and opened it back up. So hopefully, at least for now, it should act. It should act normal. It shouldn't be acting stupid. I don't know what the fuck is happening.
Funny blue coins spread around, and the many NPCs to talk to that have some great dialogue. What I always loved about this place, though, was its secrets. I mean, with the amount of shines and blue coins you find here, Delfino Plaza is practically its own entire level. Some of the shines here are quite simple, like this one where you just spray flood in the sand, but others get a bit more interesting. For example, you have these two shines that you're rewarded by winning this crate minigame twice, this one that involves cleaning these two bell towers, another that has you finding and spraying a golden bird, one that requires bashing into this gate with the turbo nozzle to reveal a hidden shine inside, and so many more. Along with the shines and secrets, the music of Delfino Plaza is just so good. I could listen to it for hours. Delfino Plaza is an almost perfect hub world, and is up there with Peach's Castle and the Comet Observatory as one of my favorite video game hub worlds. But even years after finding and collecting all its secrets and goodies, there's one thing that's still kept me running and jumping around this place for hours. The movement. Super Mario Sunshine's movement is practically flawless. I'd say the only 3D Mario that's been able to one-up it has been Odyssey. But that's only because Odyssey expanded upon and refined what made Mario's movement so amazing in this game. The introduction of the spin and the changes to the dive were such great additions to Mario's moveset. The controls here are tight and precise. I rarely felt like a mistake I made was the fault of the game's movement. The introduction of FLUDD only adds to what makes the movement so fun here as well. The one thing I always felt was missing from 64 was a mid-air correction tool you see in every other 3D Mario game. FLUDD's hover nozzle is a perfect mid-air correction tool that always saves me when I make a mistake in my inputs. Along with that, the hover nozzle also just makes it that much more enjoyable to pull off crazy tricks and skips that assist in completing shines faster. The one thing I always see people complaining about though in regards to Sunshine's movement is the lack of the long jump. But I mean with FLUDD's hover nozzle, there is literally no need for a long jump, as the hover nozzle can cover much more distance than that of the long jump. There's only one place I can think of in the game that would benefit from Mario having a long jump, and that's in the secret stages. In every single main level of Super Mario Sunshine, there is at least one secret stage that the player has to complete in order to beat the game. Upon entering one of the many secret stages, FLUDD will be taken away from you by Shadow Mario, forcing you to platform through the entirety of the stage without having the ability to hover through the air with ease. The secret stages are one of my absolute favorite parts of the game. Sometimes. I love how these stages force players to get more familiar with Mario's other moves, rather than just sticking with the hover nozzle and Mario's basic moves like the triple jump and wall jump. The secret stages are what taught me just how powerful moves like the spin and dive were. And because of that, I started using these moves more outside of the secret stages. And in turn, I was able to better grasp and understand the complexity of Mario's moveset. These secret stages aren't perfect though. Some of them tend to be designed in a more unfair way. I'm looking
Oh, the
here at the
Chuckster.
Chuckster stage. But overall, the majority of
Yeah,
them are designed
The
pretty
Chuckster
fairly,
stage is
and I've
mad
always
funny.
looked forward to these stages when I replay the game. Outside of the secret stages, though, we have the actual stages of the game, of which there are 7. These 7 stages include Bianco Hills, Rico Harbor, Gelato Beach, Pina Park, Serena Beach, Noki Bay, and Pianta Village. Now, the decrease from Mario 64's 15 stages to Sunshine's 7 stages may seem like a big downgrade, but it's actually not. The 7 main stages of Sunshine have so much to offer in them. For starters, where Super Mario 64 has 7 stars in each stage, Sunshine has 10 in each of its stages. Furthermore, Sunshine stages are much larger than 64's, and because of that are, in some ways, more fun to explore. By saying all this, I'm not at all trying to say Sunshine is better than 64 in any way. Rather, that Sunshine is often referred to as a major downgrade to 64 in terms of levels, when that actually isn't entirely the case. One of the things I love most about Sunshine stages, though, is their theming. Since all of Sunshine's levels take place on Isle Delfino, a tropical island, all of them are designed and built around this tropical summer theme. A lot of people argue that this theme being consistent throughout the entire game is to Sunshine's detriment, and that it gets repetitive and boring, but I would
How?
argue that that is absolutely not the case. The consistent theming is immersive, it makes the island more believable and real. I mean, you got locations like
Beep, beep,
Gelato Beach, a
beep,
sun-soaked beach with
beep,
a
beep,
beautiful
beep,
coral reef.
beep, beep,
Rico
beep.
Harbor, a rich trading port filled with boats and cranes that carry around goods. Pina Park, a giant amusement park found on an island just off the coast of Isle Delfino that's full of so many different attractions for guests to ride on. All of these locations feel like actual places that tourists would want to travel to in real life. But by far the biggest strength of Mario Sunshine stages, and the main thing that makes them so immersive in the first place, is their connectivity. By connectivity, I mean how, in the simplest sense, every single level in the game is connected. I already mentioned how every one takes place on a different part of Isle Delfino, but what I didn't mention is that, in almost every single level, you can see other locations and stages far off in the distance. For example, from Bianco Hills, you can spot places like Delfino Plaza, Rico Harbor, and Pina Park far off in the distance. And
That's actually
likewise,
kind of
from
cool.
Pina Park, you can see all those previously mentioned locations, plus Serena Beach and Gelato Beach. I always loved heading to different stages in the game and seeing what landmarks I could spot far off in the distance, and seeing if I could get a new perspective on these places, because it was just another way to get immersed in the wonder of Isle Delfino. If Nintendo, for whatever reason, ever decides to remake Super Mario Sunshine or return to Isle Delfino, I would love for it to be completely open world. Just imagine, instead of just being able to see locations in the distance, you could just go there without having to jump into portals or return to a hub world. It would be amazing. But despite all the great things I've praised Sunshine for, the game is absolutely not without its fair share of flaws. I mean, it's pretty well known at this point that Super Mario Sunshine was rushed out to try and save the GameCube after its rocky launch, as evident by its extremely short development period of around 18 months. So with this short development period, there was bound to be some corners cut in some aspects. For starters, you have the fact that, in order to unlock the final stage, Corona Mountain, and be able to complete the game, the player has
Corona?
to collect the first 7 shines in each main level. This essentially means that regardless of if you get stuck on a shine or find it annoying, if it's on episode 1 through 7 of a level, you have to complete it. The plot reason for this is because the 7th shine of each stage is a Shadow Mario chase, and in order to get Shadow Mario to flee to Corona Mountain and unlock it, he has to be defeated in every single stage. Regardless of the plot reasons for it though, this 7 shine requirement is so annoying. In 64, if you found a star too hard or too cryptic, you could just skip it. I mean, of the 120 stars in the game, you only needed 70 to unlock the final Bowser level. So why couldn't Sunshine do something similar to this? There were so many instances on my first playthrough of the game where I just didn't want to do a certain shine. But if I wanted to move on and make any sort of progress in the game, I would have to do it. Of all the required shines in the game, though, no one was more infuriating than Gelato Beach's Episode 4 shine, The Sandbird is Born. The Sandbird shine is infamous for its unfair design and overall just frustrating nature. The mission sees the player riding on top of a group of flying blocks of sand in the shape of a bird. On the bird lay 7 red coins that the player must collect, with the 8th and final red coin sat at the top of the tower the sandbird is flying around. Doesn't seem too bad, right? Wrong. As the sandbird starts to get closer and closer to the top of the tower, for some godforsaken reason, this thing decides to rotate itself 90 degrees to the side. While it's turning, the player has to quickly adjust themselves to be on a part of the sandbird that will be safe. But this is difficult because of how slippery and clunky the sand is, and leads to you falling off incredibly easily.
Bruh.
And while the sandbird is an annoying required shine, There are many other shines that aren't required to beat the game, but are just as, and in some cases, even more
Oh, the melon,
important.
yo, I remember the
I mean,
melon.
you got shines like the infamous
Yo, that one
Lily
is
Queen that'll split
so
you from your
bad.
core,
Oh my
Watermelon
god.
Shine on Gelato Beach that'll make you despise the Cataquacks, and finally, the Lily Pad Ride.
Oh, lily pad.
The other main annoying aspect of Sunshine is its blue coins. Spread throughout every main stage of the game are 30 blue coins for the player to collect. These blue coins are scattered across different episodes of levels, and upon collecting 10 of them, you're able to turn them into this house in Rico Harbor to net yourself a shine. Because a pretty big amount of them are really cryptic, it's incredibly difficult to track down all 240 of them without a guide. And even with the help of a guide, finding them will take hours. Sunshine's annoying aspects really hold back the game in a lot of ways. There are so many areas in this game that are very clearly rushed, and it honestly hurts to see all the missed potential in some of these areas. Moving on, the last main thing I want to talk about here is the final level and boss fight of the game. After defeating Shadow Mario in all 7 main levels, he quickly flees away to the top of Corona Mountain where he's keeping Peach, who he kidnaps once the player makes their way to Pina Park, where he also reveals his true identity as Bowser Jr., a brand new character introduced in Sunshine. Upon making your way into Corona Mountain, you're met with a linear platforming gauntlet that you have to make your way through until you
Corona?
reach the top. There are 3 main sections to Corona Mountain. The first sees you do some simple platforming across fiery and spiky blocks. The next sees you guiding a boat across a lava lake whilst trying to avoid crashing into obstacles. And the final section sees you using the rocket nozzle to propel yourself literally into the clouds. I don't know if this is a controversial opinion or not, but I actually enjoy Corona Mountain as a final level. I always loved guiding the boat through the lava lake because I've always thought it was a really cool use of the spray nozzle. I have heard some criticism towards this lava lake section, as some believe it to be just as finicky and clunky as guiding the lily pad in the lily pad ride, but honestly I'd have to disagree. The lava lake section and just boat controls in general are much more forgiving than the torture that is the lily pad stage. Moving past that though, we have the final boss battle of Sunshine, where the one and only Bowser makes his first appearance in the game. And, he talks.
The water's great, eh, Junior?
Bruh.
Sure is, Papa.
Bruh.
You again? Don't you ever give up?
Mario! How dare you disturb my family vacation?
Mario. I
I
need
wish
to
we
say
could
my.
get Jack Black to recite Bowser's lines here. It
That's
would be
funny as shit.
legendary. This final Bowser fight is
Mario, how
divided
dare you
into
disturb my
5
family
parts of bug
vacation?
fixes surrounding Bowser's, hot tub. In order to do this, the player must use the rocket nozzle to propel Mario high enough into the air so that he can perform an extra powerful ground pound that will be able to destroy the X's. This final fight is fine. It just feels like there could have been so much more to it. I mean, just look at the Mecha Bowser fight in Pina Park. This fight is hands down one of the coolest fights in a 3D Mario game. You're on a roller coaster and you gotta shoot missiles at this giant robot Bowser while it shoots its own missiles at you and breathes fire. It's just full of the creativity and personality I associate this game with. Hitting that final X and watching as Bowser's bathtub flips over and sends everyone free falling into the clouds isn't as satisfying as other 3D Mario final bosses, but definitely still a lot of fun.
Damn, he just straight up fell. And Peach just has a parasol. It's funny as shit.
Super Mario Sunshine is not as polished as other 3D Mario games. There are so many aspects of this game that just feel rushed and thrown together. And whether it be some of the more frustrating shines like the Pachinko Machine or Lily Pad level, the cryptic blue coins that'll take you hours to find, or the 7 shine requirement each stage has that completely abandons Mario 64's idea of being able to skip missions you don't like, the game also has so many redeeming qualities. For one, the connectivity of all the levels make Isle Delfino feel like a real place. The locations of these levels are consistent throughout every stage. On a first playthrough, it even lets the player take a peek into what's next and what other places they'll be exploring. The movement is almost perfect. There are very few Mario games that have me feeling as in control as I do in Sunshine. Everything feels so buttery smooth and precise. It feels like a lot of time was spent refining Mario's moveset to complement the design of the levels.
Mm.
Finally, Super Mario Sunshine, for the most part, is incredibly creative with its level design, theming, and overall atmosphere. I often find myself getting lost in the wonder of levels like Rico Harbor and Pina Park, and wish they were real places I could travel to. Over the past few years since my first time completing Sunshine, every single year I've learned to love the game more and more. I've accepted that the game has its flaws and will never be perfect, but I've also grown to appreciate the good aspects of it much more. So to answer the question posed at the very beginning of this video, is Super Mario Sunshine bad? Personally, no. Over the course of making this video, I realized that I really like the game, despite its flaws. But I can absolutely understand others feeling differently. So please, let me know in the comments what you think about Super Mario Sunshine, and if you truly believe the game is bad or not.
Damn. That's funny as shit, yo. Bowser's voice actor is fucking hilarious. And someone did a we introspective for an hour and 20 minutes. Dog. I was like Mario 3D World. Mario 3D World is actually a good ass game. That game is actually really good. Let's see this one.
Do you know a game that at release was not received the greatest, but over time people came to appreciate it more and started to see all the good in the game? And now the game that people once resented has now become one they look back on with positivity and appreciation for? No, not Gex.
Now that's what I call getting some tail.
Super Mario 3D World. It combines my two favorite things into one, Mario and the world. Oh my god. Initially released in North America on November 21st, 2013 for the Wii U, and on February
Damn,
12th, 2021
2013.
for the Switch,
I'm
Super Mario 3D World
old.
sees
Oh
Mario
god.
embark on his next 3D adventure, this time adventuring to the Sprixie Kingdom. I remember getting this for Christmas in 2013 and absolutely loving it. But when I went online to see what people thought, people weren't nearly as excited about the game as I was. I mean, they didn't hate it.
5 reasons why Super Mario 3D Land 2 sucks.
Oh, okay. I don't know why, but I remember seeing a lot of negative things about this game when it came out. And looking back, yeah, I can absolutely see why this game received criticism. I mean, this game is so much easier to appreciate now that we have Odyssey and Bowser's Fury. But when it came out, it really seemed like 3D Mario was losing the freedom and openness that was so prevalent in 64 and Sunshine. Galaxy 1 and 2 were way more linear than the games before it, and 3D World became even more linear. And before its release, this game was receiving backlash as well. A lot of people were expecting the first HD 3D Mario to be this crazy, huge open world adventure reminiscent of 64 and Sunshine, but instead, we were greeted to this during its reveal.
Beep, 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 beep. Beep, beep, beep.
What the fuck? The marketing of this game didn't do it justice at all either. This game came out during the time of Nintendo's awful, and I mean absolutely awful commercial marketing era.
Hot button popcorn, that's a deal.
All of this, the
What the hell
backlash
was
from the
that?
original trailer, the awful marketing, and the mixed reviews at launch, combined to create a game that people surprisingly look back on as one of Nintendo's best games. And there's a good reason for that. This game is incredible. First off, there's the big selling point of this game.
Oh, we like to
player
pray.
mode.
Yeah, this game is
Now, I
funny.
haven't really ever fully played through this game with 3 other people, but the times I've played with friends, this game has been an absolute blast. And with the Switch port's online multiplayer, this is easier than ever. The levels are built around multiplayer and single player really well too. They're open enough for multiple people to explore, but also closed in enough so that if you're playing single player, it doesn't feel too empty and bland, which is something I think the new Super Mario Bros. Series could definitely learn from this game. I feel a good amount of the new Super Mario Bros. Series levels are really bland and empty for single player because the game was built around multiple people playing, and 3D World shows that this issue can easily be fixed. And while on the topic of multiplayer, let's talk about the characters. You can play as Toad. Oh yeah, there's also like Peach, Luigi, and Mario. Each character has their own unique attributes which make them different from the others. The original cast, Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Peach, all take their attributes from Super Mario Bros. 2, with Mario not really having anything special other than being all around in every stat, Luigi having ridiculous jump height, Toad being able to run incredibly fast, and Peach being able to float after a jump. But wait, there's another character. A secret character that you can only unlock in the post-game. That's right, it's
Rosalina?
none other than Waluigi, baby!
Bruh. Wait, what?
Okay, no, that's a mod. It's actually just Rosalina.
I was about to say, I'm like,
Stupid
what?
things she does from like Mario Galaxy. It's kind of cool, I guess. The game starts off with Mario and the gang attending the Star Festival. Okay, really? We're really doing this again? 3 games in a row, Nintendo! Anyway, while walking around, they find this broken clear pipe and Mario and Luigi fix it up using their plumbing skills. Then this weird fairy thing jumps out and starts speaking in picture language. Then Bowser comes out and is all like, wah ha ha, get in my jar. Then Bowser leaves, somehow fitting through that clear pipe, and Mario and everyone try to go and save them. After that crazy opening, the player is able to roam around the world map. And what's cool about this world map is that it's actually fully explorable and has little secrets hidden all around it. I really like this addition because it provides a much needed change from the boring and uninspired world maps of the 2D Mario games and even 3D Land. Jumping into the first level, see what I did there? It becomes extremely apparent the art style this game is going for. A very cartoony and plasticky style, and this suits the game perfectly. Unlike the Galaxy games before, which had a serious tone that thrived with its more realistic art style, 3D World is able to thrive with its art style due to its friendly and happy nature. I mean, look at the Goombas in this game! And while on the topic of the cat Goombas, let's talk about the new power-ups of this game. Of course, starting off with the Super Bell. This power-up turns Mario and, well, anyone who touches it into a cat. Toad can finally live out his lifelong dream of being a furry. With their newfound cat abilities, the player is now able to climb up walls, scratch enemies, and dive. There's also an alternative version of this power-up called the Lucky Bell, which is literally the exact same power-up, except when you ground pound, you make money. The other new power-up in this game is the Double Cherry. This power-up makes a copy of the player that they somehow have to control and manage with. Now, the backstory of this power-up is actually really cool. It was never planned to be in the game, but when a developer accidentally created 2 Marios with the cloning tools, the other developers thought it was a cool idea and just kinda ran with it. And I'm
What?
so glad they did. This power-up is used super well in the few levels it's in, and I would love to see it return in a future Mario game. Alright, now it's time to talk about where this game, and
So they literally did it by
every 3D
accident
Mario
and they had to add it in.
the levels. And right off the bat, I'm just gonna go out and say it. The levels in this game are the most creative levels in the entire 3D Mario series. And without mentioning castle levels, I want to talk about some of my absolute favorites of this game. 2-3, Shadow Play Alley. Just by the title of this level alone, you should already know the gimmick of this level. Shadows. No, not the hedgehog. In this stage, a bright light illuminates the stage and creates shadows of things in the foreground and background. For instance, the first green star of this level is hinted to the player with the use of a shadow, indicating that it's in the foreground. I absolutely love this idea. Later on in the level, you enter an area where all you can see is the shadows of everything, and the player has to navigate through this finding secrets by ground pounding and rolling into things as you aren't able to tell what they are due to the lack of colors. One thing I really love is at the end of this level. In this secluded area, we see Captain Toad afraid of what seems to be the shadow of Bowser, but it's just cardboard Bowser.
Bruh.
I love this because it shows the creativity Nintendo had when making this level, and just entire game in general. 3-4, Pretty Plaza Panic. This level is all about working on a time limit. From the second you start the level, you realize you only have 100 seconds to make it to the goal, and that doesn't give the player as long as they may like to look for green stars, stamps, and other secrets. The time limit keeps players on their toes while also promoting some exploration. To me, the time limit encourages repeat playthroughs of the level to see what you can get done on that try, or on the other hand, challenges players to see what they can collect in a single try. 3-6, Mount Must Dash. Obviously being inspired by the Mario Kart games, in this level the player must dash to the finish line. I'm funny, I know, subscribe today. Jokes aside, this level is honestly extremely cool. I love the multiple paths there are to take in order to collect everything in the level, and just the fact that they made a Mario Kart inspired stage. It's something you wouldn't originally expect to work in a Mario game, but it's executed very well here, and makes for a stage that's very fun to replay and try to get a good time on. 5-1, Sunshine Seaside. In a game that involves mostly linear levels, this stage offers a nice break with its more open environment and collectathon based clear condition, being collecting the 5 key things in order to open the warp box. I always loved this level for some reason when I was younger, whether that be the beach setting or the more open nature. I just really like this level. I think the secrets in this level are very well hidden, and the Plessie section at the end is always fun. And those are just a few levels, but I can go on and on about different levels in this game because they're just that good. There are few to no levels in this game that I believe are bland and uninspired. And hey, even if there's a level that feels bland, at least the soundtrack will still bang. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Oh my god, the music goes so hard in this game. This is probably my favorite 3D Mario OST of all time. Yes, even above Galaxy. I know.
Now, World Bowser goes hard.
But man, this music goes hard. The music of this game is all performed by a live orchestra, with a lot of the songs being either rock or jazz, and I really think the music composed for this game fits it well. There's even remixes and recreations of old tracks from previous Mario games, like the slots theme being a recreation of the character selection screen from the hit Game of the Year title Super Mario Bros. 2. Doesn't this music make you want to gamble your life savings away? The music of this game is just incredible. I can't stress that enough. Each level feels like it's built around the music, with some levels flat out being built around it, and really helps set the tone and atmosphere for the player while they're playing. I didn't forget about him. Captain Toad, originally introduced in Super Mario Galaxy, makes his first playable appearance in this game. As him, you play in these small, condensed little areas where you have to navigate around and collect all the green stars. But what's cool about the Captain Toad levels is that you have limited movement options, as Captain Toad is unable to jump, which forces the player to find unique ways to move around and traverse. And Nintendo apparently loved this gameplay so much, they decided to make it into its own game, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, which is an absolute blast to play if you haven't already. Originally, on the Wii U, you would use the
that's
gamepad
crazy.
to stun enemies and tap certain blocks that would move and allow Captain Toad to progress. And on the Switch port, you would either use the touchscreen of the Switch itself or the gyro inside the Pro Controller and Joy-Cons. I always love this mechanic in the Captain Toad levels of interacting in the levels like this, but I have to admit, this game barely scratches the surface of the capabilities of this feature, but also Captain Toad's level design as a whole. Now, don't get me wrong, his levels in 3D World aren't bad, but Captain Toad Treasure Tracker fully makes use of these mechanics and creates amazing levels for the player to try and solve and find every secret. And with all that out of the way, I guess it's time to involve the levels discussing the main bad guy, Bowser himself, Big Bow, the Bow Man, Turtle.
Bowser time.
The Bowser stages in this game are actually really fun in my opinion. Although there are only 3 of them, each of them are amazing levels. The first Bowser level of this game, Bowser's Highway Showdown, sees the player learning about Bowser's kick bombs and how to use them to their own advantage. The actual level portion of this stage is fairly small, but the real good part of this level comes at the Bowser fight itself. After climbing a set of stairs, we see Bowser pull up in his absolutely dripped out car, which I recently found out is called the Koopa Chase, but I prefer to call this the Bowser Mobile. Anyway,
The Koopa
after
Chase?
Bowser absolutely flexes on us with his car, he starts throwing kick bombs at the player, and in order to damage him, the player has to kick them back enough times in order to make the car explode and break the bridge under Bowser, causing him to fall. What I like about this fight is the use of the kick bombs, because if you're skilled enough, and I am, and you manage to aim them at Bowser's head and jump as you kick, you're actually able to defeat him much faster than doing it the normal way. I also just really like the idea of Bowser being in a car. I don't know why, but it's kind of funny seeing him sitting in the back of his like pimped up car throwing bombs at people. The second Bowser level, Bowser's Lava Lake Keep, is much more difficult than the first. This is obviously because it's in what the player would originally presume to be the final world. Anyway, just like the first, the actual level portion of this stage is relatively small, just reintroducing the idea of kick bombs to the player as they wouldn't have seen them much since the very first world. After progressing through the level portion, we are once again met with the stairs we saw in the Highway Showdown. After climbing them, we see Bowser has not only repaired, but absolutely pimped out the Bowser Mobile. Look at this thing, now shining with bright neon lights that, now that I think about it, actually kind of foreshadow the next world, like the world Bowser's neon lighting scheme. Anyway, the fight is very similar to the original, but now is a lot more difficult. Instead of just throwing kick bombs and occasionally shooting fire, now Bowser will shoot out loads of fireballs that leave a mark in the ground that if the player touches, damages them. This makes kicking back the bombs a lot tougher, and the ground itself doesn't help this at all. As the fight goes on, the ground is sometimes filled with spikes that make the path the player can take become very narrow. And along with having to dodge Bowser's fireballs, this fight can be kinda hard. But after suffering through it all and defeating Bowser, we see him plummet into the lava lake below, and the player would most likely assume that they defeated Bowser and everything's all happy and the game's over. But to nobody's surprise, except for like the one guy who never played Mario before, Bowser isn't done just yet. And as the player is celebrating and it seems like the level has come to the end card is pulled away and we see Bowser trap all the fairies in a huge jar. Come on, Bowser, what is with the jars? Anyway, Bowser gets away and the player is now able to travel to the true final world. World Bowser. I don't know why I said it like that. World Bowser itself is really cool. A giant Bowser-themed, neon-lit theme park with a huge tower in the middle of it all. And after making their way through this theme park, the player is finally able to challenge the final level of the game, the Great Tower of Bowserland. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this level, although I do think there are some highlights, like real good. Notably, the Bowser Mobile has been abandoned. No! Yeah, as soon as you start the level, the game makes it apparent that you won't be fighting Bowser in his car, rather in a different way. And just like the others, the level portion of the stage is extremely short. It's not much, but it does allow the player to get some power-ups before the big fight. After making it through the level, we're now in front of Bowser's huge tower, and we see Bowser jump in front of us, ready to stop us. However, instead of going after the player right away, Bowser instead pulls out a Super Bell, and yes, I know what you're thinking. There's no way Bowser will become a furry. Oh dear God. So yeah, Bowser has now officially transformed into Meowser. Yeah, it's quite a name. Anyway, the player is tasked with scaling up the huge tower while being chased by while being chased by Meowser. I honestly don't really like this bit as it's an auto-scroller and I always felt like it moved really slow. But nonetheless, it isn't too long, and after the player hits Meowser with a POW block and sends him flying off, the player can jump into a clear pipe. This part of the level is, in my opinion, the coolest. As we're going up the clear pipe, Bowser comes back, chasing us, and now the player can do nothing but watch. After a short while, Bowser uses a double cherry to clone himself, and now the player has to dodge multiple Bowsers while climbing up the tower. Sadly, same as the last part, this section is also an auto-scroller, and moving is a little slow. But I really like the idea of multiple Bowsers just jumping out of the walls at you. In the final section of the level, the player has to climb a staircase spiraling around the very top of the tower, while there are like 10 Bowsers trying to attack the player. I really like the music of this section as well. It honestly reminded me a lot of the Galaxy games. Anyway, after reaching the top and hitting this giant POW block 3 times, Bowser flies off into the sky, finally being defeated. No more end cards being pulled away, no more jars. He's dead. I think this level did a lot right, but also a few things wrong. I really like the whole idea of the level, the whole Meowser thing, and the use of the double cherry, but the auto-scrolling of it all just slows it down. But don't get me wrong, I don't think this is a bad level or anything. I think it's pretty good for a first playthrough, but it honestly could have just been done a little bit better. Ha 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 ha! You thought the game was over? Nope! After beating the game, there are 3 post-game worlds with a bunch of new levels. I say new because while some of them are brand new, a lot of them are remix levels from the actual game. And I love this idea. It introduces you back to these levels you played before, but now with a bunch of new twists that make it more challenging and fun to complete. And if you really are a completionist and collect every stamp, every star, and get a golden flagpole in every single level, you unlock a final stage, Champions Road. Champions Road is a platforming gauntlet and is one of the hardest levels in the entire Mario series. It's often debated whether this or the Perfect Run are the hardest Mario stages, and while I personally think the Perfect Run is the hardest, this stage is a very close second and has extremely stressful moments that require almost perfect movement from the player. When I first challenged this stage, no joke, it took me like 3 hours to complete, and that's only because I devised a perfect route and I had almost basically muscle memory the entire stage at that point due to how many attempts it took. And if I'm being completely honest, I enjoyed every second of the 3 hours it took. I think while it's hard, it's a stage that over time you can find the best routes and patterns to take, and it makes for a really fun course to try and master, and really drives home the fact that 3D World is an amazing game. Super Mario 3D World is a game that deviates from the format we are used to with 3D Mario games, but creates one that's equally fun to play and one that can even be enjoyed by up to 4 people at the same time. The creativity and passion put into this game is extraordinarily apparent. Each level feels unique and there are very few dull moments throughout the entire adventure. Super Mario 3D World shows that, even when presented in a format we are not used to, the 3D Mario series continues to be one of the best in the entirety of gaming.
Jeez Louise. Alright, it's almost 12. I'm taking my ass to bed. At least OBS is not acting up. Yeah, at least it's not acting up right now. So at least whatever issue I have on OBS is fixed. Hopefully it doesn't do that bullshit tomorrow. Yeah. That's it from me. I'll see you all next time I stream. Goodbye. Have a good rest of your day.